welcome to ProCraft Cabinetry Jacksonville. Today we're going to be learning how to build a base 12 box. Alright, so today we're going to be learning how to build a base box. Now, with our base cabinets, you're going to see B12. All that means is this is a base cabinet 12 inches wide. Now, for the frames to these, you're going to see B12 or VB12. Now, you don't have to worry about the VB unless that's the box you want. The only difference is it's not going to have a drawer. So, let's say you have a cabinet where a sink goes. That's where the VB comes in. For the time being, we're just worried about the B12. Again, we have the LSW, means Liberty Shaker White. That's all that means is our style of cabinet faces and our color. That's what the LS and W stand for. So for our base 12 box, you're going to have three things to come in it. You're going to have your frame, once again with your side grooves, but in this time you're only going to have a bottom groove. And then you have your drawer face. It's going to look like this, and a door. It's going to look like this. So when you open your box, you're going to get your two side pieces, your back piece, your bottom piece, and since this is a base cabinet, you're going to have drawer runners. You're going to have your little shelf that goes inside, your kick plate, and then you get to your drawers part. Now this is a drawer bottom, and you have your sides, and then you have two different pieces. One's the front and one is the back, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Once you have all your stuff out and ready to go, the first thing we want to do is open up our slides box. Because in this slides box come those two little clips. Now these little clips is what holds the runners into the back of the drawer. They go right in. Once again, our holes are always pre-drilled. You don't have to worry about measurements, dimensions, none of that. Just slide them in, and it comes with a baggie of little screws. You only need 4. Go ahead and screw those right in. I'm going to go ahead and put this piece to the side. We're not ready for it just yet. Alright, so we want to start with our frame. We want to make sure that our groove is towards the bottom. This is the bottom of the cabinet. It's always going to be down here. You're never going to have a groove up here unless that's custom. You want to, once again, you just want to slide it right in. It fits right in. You want to line these little grooves up so that later when we put the bottom piece in, we have no problems. I'm going to come in at a 45-degree angle and put maybe 5 to 6 nails right into the side. Same thing here. Now, when you're shooting this, the better way to explain it is you're aiming not to attach this little bit to that, but to attach this to that piece. So you're avoiding, from whichever angle you're shooting, you're avoiding this piece altogether. You're just shooting it through this and the back, what's behind it. And put our second piece in. Once again, goes right in. Let's make sure that our little groove is lined up. And we want to go ahead and nail that. Always want to make sure we set a 45-degree angle so that our nails don't pop through the front of the back box. Alright, so now that we have our side pieces in, we're going to go ahead and put our bottom in. Just going to slide right in, right into those grooves, and plop right down, and then that's that. We have our back piece now. We're going to have this groove on the back of it, and we put the brackets up here so we know it's going to go like that. Brackets are going to go to the top, groove to the bottom. Turn it sideways. We want to make sure that once we put that back piece in, that we're nice and squared at the top, because let's say you got a countertop going on here and this is sticking out past everything else. You're going to have a little bit of wobbliness there, and that's not what we want. Come a 1/4 inch down and nail that piece right there. Now, you don't want to get too high with these nails when nailing this, but you also have to remember you have about a 1/2 inch to work with. So don't be afraid to sit a 1/4 inch below the lip here. Alright, so now we have our little screws and such in this little box we got. And you want to save this box. These are our shelf pins. So if you get an order from us built, these are going to come in this little box. So once again, don't throw this box away. You're going to need it. I'll pop those right back in there since we don't need them. And we got our little goodie bag of screws. Now we have our brackets. We have our long flat screws. We have our hinge screws. And then we have the two most similar screws on the planet. These little tiny guys along with these guys. So these go to the bigger ones that are 5/8 go with the hinges. So we want to go ahead and put all that to the side. Now these little ones, they're a 1/2 inch. Since this is a base 12, we're only going to need one of these little brackets. So we only need 2 of those. We can go ahead and put these to the side. I'm going to go ahead and aim for the back of this hole, but you don't want to go at an angle. You want to be as straight as possible so that it sucks everything up. The back of that hole. And we're good. Now we take our 2 bigger screws, just 2. The rest we can put to the side. That's when we secure our back to the bottom. And now that we've got the majority of our box built, we want to flip it over and get our kick plate ready. Now, it's never going to be perfect, but you just want to make sure that you split the difference. What that means is make sure that if you have overhang, make sure it overhangs the same on both sides. And then we want to come in with our 18 gauge nail. And we want to put 3 right through there. Just like that. Now that kick plate isn't going anywhere. So if you get a box that is 21 inches and under in width, it's going to be a single door. Now, if the customer doesn't specify on which side they want it to open, we will leave it right in the box. So when you get your box, your door will be right there for you to decide where you want it to go. Now, in this case, the customer requested that we put the door on the right side. So we're going to go ahead and lay our box on the right side down so that we can do that. And don't forget where it goes. Go ahead and put our bumpers on. Tear our little holes open for our hinges to make it a lot easier. Now for our 5/8 inch, right in there. Now we see that there aren't any pre-drilled holes here. You don't need no special measurements. You just take it and take your finger and just about make it to where your finger and the bottom of the box are even. That's all you need, about 1/4 inch to 3/8. We're going to take our rounded hinge screws, put those right Now our door's on. Now we want to go ahead and put our runners for the drawers in. Both ends look very different, so you don't have to worry about mixing them up. Right, this end is always going to go towards the back. And if you can see, you have grooves here, slots that match the back of the runners. And what we want to do is slide right in. So you got a top and a bottom, and you just slide it right in. And these are adjustable, so if they're at an angle, not lining up, you can just move them, tighten the screw, and it won't move. And in the front, what we're looking for is, you can see that we have a bunch of holes right there. But what we want is our very first hole to match up with that pre-drilled hole that they have for the drawer. And we just took our little screws that we put to the side earlier, screw that right in. Now that's good to go. And go ahead and pop these little gray things out real quick, because this is what holds your drawer in at the bottoms. Alright, so now we're going to get to building our drawer for our base box. All our drawers are going to come just like this. You're going to have two little marks on each side. That basically lets you know where that drawer is going to go. So we want to take from the two little pieces that we had earlier, we want to take the one that has the pre-drilled holes in it. Now, for quicker, we have a pre-built square, but you don't need that. All you have to worry about is lining up to those lines. So once you got that all nice and lined up, you're going to take your 23 gauge. You're just going to pop two nails in there. And make sure we're straight. Now that those are in, we're going to get 4 of our big screws. And this is where you want to be very careful. You don't want to oversink the screw. You just want to do enough, because if you oversink it, these screws are going to pop through the face of your drawer. So if you look right here, we have a lip. Well, what happens is these screws don't necessarily go through the fat part of the wood. And if you oversink them, they will pop right through there. Now we have our sides. Both of them are identical. And all you need to worry about is making sure that your grooves line up. Now it may take a little persuasion sometimes to get these in, but they go right in. Now you want to take your 18 gauge and you just want to pop 2 nails like that. So you're aiming for this piece, knobs, but you don't want to go on the last one, because if we look, we have our groove right there, and if we go into our last knob, we're going to impede the bottom piece. Now we go put our other side on. Go ahead and nail that the same way. We want to, because we flipped it, our groove is at the top, so we want to not hit that, we want to hit that. There we go. Now to our bottom piece. Now a lot of times you will get this bottom piece and it could be polished on one end and not polished on the other, or like in this case, it's polished on both ends. So in this case, we want to take whatever's the prettier side, which will happen that one, and make sure it's facing up. So just like that. Slides right in. Now you have your back piece. This is the back piece, and just like the front, it goes right on. You may need a little persuasion. And then do the same thing we did on the bottom. Now avoid that last one because that's where our panel is. Yeah. go ahead and put our bumpers on. Now that we got everything built, we want to go ahead and install our drawer. We pull these out, and like before, we pulled these little gray tabs out. That's what's going to hold our box in. Look at the bottom of the box. You're going to have your holes, your corresponding holes for these knobs, and your corresponding holes for the gray knobs. Okay. So every time, the drawer is going to go right in. If you look, slid right in. We just push those gray tabs in. We missed a hole. There we go. And sometimes they can be a little finicky, but now it's in. You want to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, because if these don't go into the holes, or your backs don't go into the holes, you're gonna have a messed up drawer. And the last step to our cabinet is these corner pieces. Now this is what adds the structure to these corners. Now we got the big screws again that we put to the side, and I know that these come pre-drilled, but from experience we want to screw these in from the outside. So we want to go all the way around and we'll screw them in. Now, obviously we can't screw in through the face of our cabinet. This is where we want to use the pre-drilled holes. In this instance, we just enough to tighten it, not enough to go through the face. Okay. Now we got that one tightened. There we go. And this is how you build a base cabinet.